Ashe and Tryndamere. The relationship between Ashe and Tryndamere is a canon romance that evolved from cold political necessity into deep mutual reliance. As the war mother of the Avarosan tribe, Ashe faced a dilemma. She needed a bloodsworn, a husband and protector to legitimize her rule, but marrying a local tribal leader would incite jealousy and civil war. Her solution was Tryndamere, a barbarian king from a distant slaughtered clan who arrived with nothing but his undying rage. After he proved his supernatural resilience in the gladiatorial pits, Ashe chose him specifically because he was an outsider with immense strength but no political baggage. While their union began as a strategic marriage of convenience, granting survival to Tryndamere's dying people and military might to Ashe's cause, it blossomed into genuine love over time. They are the perfect embodiment of opposites attract. Ashe is the cool, calculated strategist representing the ice, while Tryndamere is the impulsive, emotional force representing the fire. Together, they balance each other, ruling as the king and queen of the Freljord. Fun fact. This power couple is also a tribute to real life, named after Riot Games co-founder Mark Tryndamere Merrill and his wife Ashley. Garen and Katarina. Garen and Katarina are the definitive Romeo and Juliet of the League of Legends universe, representing a forbidden romance between the warring nations of Demacia and Noxus. While publicly they are sworn enemies, Garen as the staunch defender of Demacian order and Katarina as a deadly Noxian assassin, their lore confirms a mutual attraction that supersedes their allegiances. Their relationship is characterized by secret meetings and battlefield duels that serve as a twisted form of courtship. In-game interactions hint at this heavily, with lines about dinner tonight masked as combat threats.
I will slay you where you stand. Dinner tonight?
You shall fall on your folly. Meet me at the South Docks after dark.
The most undeniable proof of their bond is found in the Katarina comic and Legends of Runeterra lore. To master her magical daggers, Katarina must clear her mind and focus on her strongest emotional connection. In a moment of vulnerability, she doesn't think of her father or her empire. She thinks of Garen. This confirms that despite the bloodshed between their nations, the enemy general is the person she values most, forcing them to maintain a tragic, secret affair amidst a never-ending war. Darius and Quilletta. The relationship between Darius and Quilletta is one of the darkest tragedies in League of Legends, serving as a brutal reminder that in Noxus, the Empire comes before everything, even family. They were childhood sweethearts and fellow soldiers who rose through the ranks together, sharing a deep romantic bond in their youth. However, time and war drove a wedge between them. Darius became the Hand of Noxus, the unwavering symbol of imperial strength, while Quilletta, after losing an arm in the invasion of Ionia, became disillusioned with the senseless loss of life and eventually led a rebellion against the capital. The story reaches its heartbreaking climax in the Blood of Noxus comic. When Darius arrives to quell her rebellion, Quilletta confronts him with a devastating truth. Her son, Decius, was killed in a suicide mission in the Freljord, a mission Darius himself had ordered. The heavy implication which Quilletta attempts to convey is that Decius was also Darius's son. However, before she can speak the final truth that might have broken Darius's resolve, she is killed by her own second-in-command, a fanatic loyalist. Darius is left standing over the body of his first love, never fully knowing that his unwavering loyalty to Noxus had likely cost him his own child. Lucian and Senna. The love story of Lucian and Senna is the emotional backbone of the Sentinels of Light lore. A bond so powerful it literally transcended death. Initially partners in the ancient order of sentinels fighting the Black Mist, their lives were torn apart when the sadistic wraith Thresh trapped Senna's soul inside his spectral lantern. For years, Lucian was consumed by a singular, obsessive purpose, not to save the world, but to save her. He wielded her fallen relic weapon alongside his own, fighting through grief and darkness, abandoning the sentinel code of discipline for a path of pure vengeance. Their story reached a cinematic climax when Lucian finally shattered Thresh's lantern, freeing Senna. However, their happily ever after is complicated. Senna returned not fully human, but as a being cursed with the mist, able to wield both light and darkness. This has created a tense but loving dynamic where Lucian, traumatized by losing her once, is often overprotective, while Senna understands that she must use her curse to fight the ruined king. Together, they represent the ultimate victory of love over despair, proving that even hellish imprisonment couldn't break their connection. Gangplank and Illaoi. The relationship between Gangplank and Illaoi is one of the most intense and philosophically driven bonds in Bilgewater. In their youth, they were passionate lovers, but their paths diverged when Illaoi was called to serve her god, Nagakaburos. As the truth-bearer, Illaoi preaches that life is about motion and chasing one's desires, while Gangplank eventually stagnated, becoming obsessed with maintaining his power. Despite their breakup, a deep respect remained. When Gangplank was overthrown by misfortune and lost his arm during the Burning Tides event, he didn't go to a doctor. He dragged his broken body to Illaoi. In a pivotal moment, she didn't comfort him with pity, but subjected him to the test of spirit, a magical trial to see if he still had the will to live. Gangplank survived, proving he was still in motion. However, their tragedy lies in the aftermath. While Illaoi hoped this would help him grow, Gangplank only deepened his obsession with revenge. Illaoi ultimately realized that while she loved the man he was, she could not be with the man he had become, a man stuck in the past, refusing to move forward as her faith demands. Xayah and Rakan. Xayah and Rakan are the quintessential power couple of League of Legends, designed from the ground up to embody perfect synergy both in gameplay and lore. They are Vastayan revolutionaries fighting to restore wild magic to Ionia, but their dynamic is built on the classic opposites attract trope. Xayah, the rebel, is the calculated, edgy, and deadly serious strategist who carries the weight of her dying tribe on her shoulders. In stark contrast, Rakan, the charmer, appears to be a chaotic, narcissistic showman who treats the battlefield like a dance floor. However, beneath Rakan's goofy exterior lies a fiercely loyal protector. The lore reveals a touching truth. While Xayah fights for the cause, Rakan fights for her. He happily acts as the loud distraction, drawing enemy fire so Xayah can strike with lethal precision from the shadows. Their bond is so intrinsic to their identity that they are the only champions with a shared Lover's Leap recall animation, symbolizing that they move as one. They prove that Xayah is the sharp edge of the rebellion's blade, while Rakan is the handle that guides and protects it. Neither is complete without the other. Rumble and Tristana. The relationship between Rumble and Tristana is the quintessential example of unrequited love in League of Legends lore. It is almost entirely one-sided. Rumble, the scrappy mechanist, is hopelessly infatuated with the disciplined Yordle gunner, while Tristana appears to be either completely oblivious to his feelings or simply views him as a close friend and ally. Rumble's crush is an open secret and a core part of his personality. He even affectionately named his combat mech Tristy in her honor. His in-game voice lines are filled with awkward attempts to impress her or jealous remarks about other Yordles like Teemo. Tristana, however, is a soldier first, focused entirely on her duty to the Bandle Gunners. While they share a bond as fellow Yordle warriors, Rumble currently resides firmly in the friend zone, constantly building bigger and louder machines in a desperate, noisy attempt to finally catch her eye. Caitlyn and Vi. Caitlyn and Vi, known collectively as Piltover's finest, represent one of the most beloved and culturally significant romances in League of Legends history. Their dynamic is the ultimate oil and water pairing. Caitlyn is the disciplined, by-the-book sheriff from a wealthy, aristocratic Piltover family, while Vi is the hot-headed, street-smart brawler from the slums of Zaun, who solves problems with her massive Hextech gauntlets. For years, their relationship was heavily implied through flirtatious, in-game voice lines, most notably Vi giving Caitlyn the affectionate nickname Cupcake, but it remained officially ambiguous. The release of the animated series Arcane finally shattered the subtext, fully exploring the tender and complicated romance between them. The show highlights how their differences actually bridge the gap between their warring cities. Caitlyn learns to see the humanity in the Undercity through Vi, while Vi finds a grounding anchor in Caitlyn's compassion. Their relationship is defined by a deep, protective loyalty that transcends the bitter class war between Piltover and Zaun, proving that trust can exist even between an enforcer and a trench rat. With the release of recent lore and Pride Month content, Riot has officially confirmed what fans knew for a decade: they are not just partners in law, but partners in life. Diana and Leona. The relationship between Diana and Leona is a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions, embodying the eternal, heartbreaking conflict between the sun and the moon. Their story began not as enemies, but as intimate companions during their teenage years at the Solari Temple on Mount Targon. Leona was the devout, golden prodigy who strictly followed the Solari dogma, while Diana was the inquisitive rebel who found beauty in the night and questioned the erasure of the Lunari history. Their bond was officially confirmed in the story Rise With Me, which depicts their romance blooming amidst their ideological debates, culminating in a tender kiss during the festival of the Nightless Eve. However, destiny tore them apart. When they ascended to become the aspects of the sun and the moon, they were forced into opposing sides of an ancient holy war. Diana became the scorned exile fighting for the truth of the moon, and Leona became the radiant crusader protecting the faith of the sun. Currently, they stand as reluctant enemies. While their duties as aspects force them to fight, the women beneath the celestial power still harbor a deep, unresolved love for one another. Their interactions are filled with regret, painting a picture of two souls who are destined to orbit each other eternally, but can never truly touch without colliding. Neeko and Nidalee. The relationship between Neeko and Nidalee is a charming yet bittersweet tale of mentorship blossoming into deep infatuation. After Neeko, a shape-shifting Uvi cat Vastaya, fled the cataclysm that destroyed her tribe, she arrived in the Kumungu jungle, lost and alone. She was taken in by Nidalee, the fierce, bestial huntress who became her teacher, protector, and eventually the object of her affection. Neeko is League's first champion to be openly lesbian upon release, and her lore explicitly states she was captivated by Nidalee's strong, feminine Shoma. However, the dynamic is complicated. While Neeko is openly head over heels for the Huntress, Nidalee is more guarded, often viewing Neeko with a mix of maternal affection and stern mentorship rather than overt romance. Nidalee is bound by her duty to protect her pack, which prevents her from joining Neeko on her journey to rebuild her tribe. Despite this separation, their bond is unbreakable. In Legends of Runeterra lore, they reunite to fight against poachers, showing that while Nidalee may be hesitant to label their relationship, she will ferociously defend the curious chameleon who loves her.